Reason for this video is I'd like to show you how to make floating jig heads for the Maumee River run walleye. There's a number of things that you'll have to have before you get started. As you can see, we've already made quite a few jig heads already. What you'll need for sure is the expandable polystyrene beads. It makes this size makes over 600 1/4 ounce floating jig heads, or over 50 dozen. This small bottle here. And if you have in the comments, I'll put in the comments where you can get a bottle of this EPB. Okay. Another thing is, when you want to get started, you'll notice that I've modified the molds a little bit. I cut them off, and the reason I cut them off is they can fit here in the pan better. Okay, that's a little modification. I also modified the clamps that you'll need. I cut the ends off and drilled them another hole so that these can also fit in the pans. Okay, you can get these little clamps at Harbor Freight for about $2 and something. You'll need these little clippers here. I know you probably have some dikes, some other types of cutters, but these will give you a clean cut, and they're about a couple bucks at Harbor Freight also. Another tool that you'll need is this clamp. I don't know what they use them for, but I use them to lock the mold when we're loading it. Then once we load it, and we put the hooks in and we load it with EPB, then we can put the clamp on and we can take this off. So I'd like to go through here and show you how to actually make a floating jig head. There's so many secrets surrounding the issue of how to make floating jig heads. Well, if you're a Maumee River fisher and you already make your lead heads, then you probably already have a 3/16 or a 1/4 ounce jig head mold. If you do, all you have to do is purchase the EPB and some hooks and a few of these items that you may already have, and you can make your own floating jig heads. You can color them with acrylic paint, any color you want. You can make a little trough and dip them in there. I'm gonna choose to spray mine because I have a little spray gun, a little air spray gun to color them. But right now, we just want to go through and show you how we actually make floating jig heads. Okay, so we're going to start with all the supplies. Of course, we already went over this. You need EPB, expandable polystyrene beads. I can help you get some of that, no problem. You need a pan to put all your jigs when they're done. Of course, you need 1/4 ounce or 3/16 jig head molds. Okay, you need these little clamps that holds the mold together while your jig heads are cooking. And another thing that you'll need is you need to get some lead and pour it right on top of the mold before you ever get started. And the way that sets up, it makes this little top here. And that top will keep the EPB inside once you start pouring your jig heads. Okay? So you need, like I said, you need the jig head mold. You need some clamps. You need some clippers. You need a box of hooks. You can get the hooks at Jan's Netcraft. Pliers. A little Pittsburgh clamp from Harbor Freight. And you can use a butter knife. And of course, 5-gallon bucket. I got this pan, this frying pan. I got this at the Goodwill for a couple of bucks. It's not food safe anymore. Just use it for boiling your lures, your jig heads. Okay, now let's get started. First thing is we want to load the jig mold. So we'll load that up with hooks. We're going to work real slow. We usually work a lot faster when we're making production. But I don't choose to be introducing myself or any of that stuff, because I'm not going to have any stupid music playing in the background, because if you want to watch or listen to music, you watch TV or listen to the radio or play a CD. I figure you want to figure out how we can make these jigs so we can go fishing, because the main thing is to keep the main thing. So here we go. I'm loading the hooks in. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see as well. That's all right. Once you load the hooks, just like you did with when you made your lead heads. Of course, the lead heads crew, that's all over now. All that snagging that I did for years, letting them go and keeping some of them, that's a thing of the past. Now we can figure out how to keep DNR off our back and catch them legally. I know you've been doing that for years, but I'm just learning how to actually catch them legally for the past 3 or 4 years now. So we clamp that on. We get the EPB. I got a pourable spout. Okay, and then we load, since the hooks are already in, we're going to load this with EPB. Make sure you do it over a napkin so that you can recover all the EPB that comes out. And you're going to have quite a bit that's going to be just spilled out while you're pouring these. Use a little case knife or anything you want to use to wrap that down. Once you use these, anything you use for this, don't use it on food after that. Okay? This is supposed to be non-toxic, but I don't take a chance. So then you sweep, get a close-up on that, will you? And sweep these holes clear of the excess EPB. Expandable polystyrene beads. It feels like salt. It feels like sand and salt. Okay, you sweep them out. You see, get a close-up on that. See there, buddy? You sweep them out. Make sure that it's down to the top of the head. Okay? Then what we do is, now that your mold is loaded, get it to cooperate with us. Get a clamp. Put the clamp on. But before we do that, we got to make sure that we put the cover on. The cover will keep the EPB inside the mold. As it expands, it will push outward. If you don't have this clamp on there, most of your EPB will float out of the top. So the reason why this clamp and this lead piece is on there is to keep the EPB in there, and while it expands, it'll make your lead head quite buoyant. Makes it float a whole lot better. Okay? Now you get that tightened up. Now that holds that down, like I said. Then you can release this. Okay? You take this mold, set it in hot water. Turn it on. Now, I should have had that water boiling ahead of time, so we'll take a pause and let the water boil. This mold has to stay in here for 10 minutes. That's it. So you set your timer. Show it up here on the timer. You set it on your timer. It's 1:44, but start it when the water starts boiling. Okay, we'll pause it for now. Okay. Now, if you notice, that one right there is still boiling. We usually have all three of them together. But this one I boiled last night. It should be all set. So what you do is, you will, when it's done boiling, you will take it off the stove and you'll put it inside this bucket for 10 seconds. And that cools the aluminum right down. And then you'll take it out, make sure you dry it off, and then you'll take off the clamp. You take the covering off, open up the mold. I left one off there. No, there it is over there. Okay, and then you just, if you take the butter knife, you can slide under these and just pop them right out. Okay? When you get these out of the mold, you take your cutters, they're micro cutters. You sell them at Harbor Freight, like I said. Clip the heads off, and you'll have a nice jig head. It's ready for coloring. You can, like I said, you can dip them, or you can airbrush them. Clip all the heads off. You can see that we cleared the mold of all the excess, but it's still expanded and made that little cap on top. Clip them off. Try to keep them as round as you can. And We don't make the bigger ones. I've been fishing for walleye, catching my limit when the limit was catchable with this size. The 1/4 ounce or the 3/16 size has been the most effective. I've been fishing, when you look at the speed limit, you'll find out how many years I've been fishing. 55 years. So I'm talking from a little experience. I've been fishing in the Maumee River on the Fort Meigs side since 1971. So we've caught a number of walleye down through the years. And so basically, that is how you make your floaters. It seems as though there's been a big secret about making these. And I haven't really found but 2 videos that show how to make them. So this was the big secret. Where to get this? Well, you can get this from me. Put it in the comments. I'll show you how to get some of this. I'll get it to you at cost. So that's about it. See you out there on the Maumee River. Good fishing, guys.